Well, hey everyone, welcome to episode 15 of CX and Coffee. My name's Justin Robbins, and if this is your first time joining us, then you wouldn't know that every single week I do this alongside my good friend, three-time coworker, long-time collaborator, musician extraordinaire,
Marty Shaughnessy.
We get together and we talk about three things: the weekend that we had, or are, in Marty's case, preparing to have, like more than a weekend, I think. You've got some things coming up, Marty.
Things, yes.
We talk about that. We talk about a coffee. And we talk about a topic that'll be interesting to you if you work, live in, think about, are a customer experience professional. But without further ado, Marty, so good to see your face, dude.
It's good to see you, buddy. I can't wait to hear about your trip.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we intentionally leave stuff, on the table so that we can talk about it. So I don't have to fake like I'm surprised.
I know, and I got to be honest, it's making the part of our conversation before these calls feel a little bit surgical. It's like,
Yes.
hello, Marty.
Hello, Justin.
I'm
Hey,
not-
how was your? No. Hold on,
No.
hold on. We'll
Wait,
talk
wait,
about
wait.
it. Oh, don't tell me.
So if you're wondering, I mean, you get y'all. I was actually, Marty, I had a conversation with someone right before we hopped on for this recording, and he was asking about, he's thinking about a couple different things on the podcast front, and preparation was one of them. And I was like, well, let me tell you about how my friend Marty and I prepare for each episode. We don't.
I mean, that's not 100%. You usually know what topic we're going to talk about, but it certainly isn't really devolved or mapped out, I would say. And it's funny, as even when we were talking about this years ago, I was like, Justin, you can be the CX professional with your background, and I can be the guy who just asks the questions that everybody wants to know. And there was a movie called Best in Show where Fred Willard plays. Right? Isn't that amazing?
I love that show.
I saw a behind the scenes where he said he plays a commentator in the movie, and he's asking the most ridiculous questions, and it's hilarious. So, but his whole thing is he prepared for nothing because he wanted to go in and just ask the dumbest questions. Some of them being like, "Now what's going on here?" And so that's kind of my. You throw something at me, and I'll respond the way I respond. Maybe it'll be articulate. Maybe I'll sound like a goober, but that's all right. It'll at least be me.
No, I like it, Marty, and you're right. I do prepare a little bit, and then I totally blindside you when we get into these things. But here's the beautiful part about it. You mentioned Best in Show. The big dog show just happened. I saw it on TV. And do you know which breed won Best in Show this year?
I do not.
The giant schnauzer.
Huh.
I didn't even know that was a dog breed until I saw it there.
I've heard of the schnauzer. I didn't know there was variants on the schnauzer.
There are. So if you own a giant schnauzer, where can I get one? It looked like a cool dog, and it was Best in Show, so that has to stand for something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good, but yeah, I am glad, Marty, to be back from my trip as you prepare for yours.
Yeah, well, it's always good hanging out. I mean, Justin, we can talk or not talk for hours, right?
It's true.
That's a lot for the movie, just for everybody.
We could. Yeah, I don't know that movie. So how have you been, man? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was prepping for this next week coming up, where we're gonna. It's a trip with the family to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. So it's just making sure we've got all the. We're taking the family photo with a large group, so we're coordinating efforts. So that was a big deal. Yeah, I'm really. Normally, I don't get too excited about these kind of things, but I'm like pumped for this one. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's a freaking cold here, but I'm just really excited. Yeah,
that's fair. Have you been to the Dominican before?
Yes. And then I was also in Haiti, which is the other side of the island.
Yeah. I've got a few questions for you. This large family photo, Does
Yes.
the wardrobe, is it a white shirt and khaki pants?
It is like pastel colors
Oh,
and like light. It's lighter. So we joked about the. Not, I mean, you guys can. Everybody can do their own thing. The white, was it the white jeans and the or white pants and jean shirt, and there's a bunch of like cliched ones out there. So we found this one that seemed, when you're trying to coordinate 18 people wearing the same thing, it's just like, just go for light color, kind of beachy looking. So
yeah. Yeah, I always wondered who officially dubbed, like who like began the this is going to be the look if you do the beach family photo, which look, every year when we go to the beach with my wife's family, we do the obligatory beach family photo. I'm not hating on that. I just want to know who was the one that kind of stuck the stake in the ground and said this is how you should dress for it.
yeah, who was the first person who? Yeah, that would be interesting. I
It
mean, I
would be
really.
interesting. I don't know. I kind of part of me wants to set a new trend when it comes to the beach photo. I don't know
Okay.
what that new trend would be. I just want it to be something different.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bunch of great beach photos of when I was a kid with my two brothers where we are like sunburned and tired and
Yeah.
ready to go home and everybody looks miserable. It's the old like, all right guys, just stand still. Hold on, take the picture. That's enough. It's like
You
the fake
realize
smile.
you forgot till the last 5 minutes of the last day. Like
Yeah.
just been arguing for the last 45 minutes on how to appropriately pack the van for the trip home.
Yep.
I
We've
know
got
the
to catch
picture.
this baby. Hurry up. Sit down. Stand up. Smile. Yeah.
Look happy. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to get back to the Dominican, have that family time together, get the photo, but also to warm up. It's been a cold streak in the Northeast from all that I can
Yes.
tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't typically mind it. And like I said before, I think having the puppy where you're just going out a lot more. There just seems like lots of jacket on, jacket off kind of happenings.
Mm.
So I'm looking forward to just. I've got a couple good books. I'll just find a spot, kind of maybe have a tropical drink or two, and yeah, try not to get burnt first day.
That's fair. What is the puppy plan while you're away?
My mother-in-law is our neighbor, and she's gonna we're gonna bring the puppy down there. She's got two dogs that love Josie loves them, so it's been nice because she goes down to visit a couple times a week and she loves down there. So that's an easy one for us.
So
Very fortunate.
Josie gets to go to the grandparents.
Yes,
That's fun.
yes, and she will be spoiled, I'm sure.
It's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So I saw a couple pictures from your trip, but
Mm-hmm.
I need to know. I didn't see any pictures of you holding Big Fin. Were fish caught?
We just didn't want to brag about it, Marty. We didn't want to.
Okay. Okay.
So here's the so my son turned 13 and really wanted to do an ice fishing adventure. So we booked a spot 2 hours north of Minneapolis, and that's where we spent the past couple days. What was interesting about it, Marty, is we were in a ice house that was set in a fixed location
Mm-hmm.
with 8 holes drilled in the floor into the ice, and the
Okay.
ice was 30 inches thick, mind you,
Gotcha.
which was great because we could fish with the heater on. But what we quickly learned was it was bad because you couldn't move if the fish weren't there. So we had these 8 holes, and you figured different types of day, you have different chances at different fish, and we had all of the lures and baits that you could possibly need. We had spoons, we had they're like it's a lipless crankbait was one. We even got these sucker minnows as well as wax worms. So we had real and artificial baits, and we were from 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to our last night there. We left live bait swimming in the water all night, figuring if there are any of these big fish that are going to hit on it, like we're going to give them every shot they can to hit at something. We had a couple bites. Marty, all weekend, nothing came through the ice. And
Mm,
we're on a page and we're looking at, other posts, and it sounds like across the board it was a quiet weekend for a lot of fishermen. And now, mind you, there was some weather that came in on Friday night, and so you never know with like wind and sun, like all of these things are
yeah.
variables. And it seemed like the only fishermen who were having luck, they were on snowmobiles. They had the sleds pulling the portable tents, and they had either the underwater cameras, or so they could get in a spot. You drill 30 inches into the ice, drop their camera around. Are there fish or not? If they're not, then they're moving on to another part of the lake.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and what was fascinating, I
Okay.
mean, we drove, once we got onto the lake, it was probably 15 minutes out onto this frozen lake until we got to the spot where our ice house was and we were fishing. We had so much fun, and
Yeah.
it was really, really cool. Of course, disappointing to not pull any fish through the ice, but I would absolutely do it again. And we were honestly over prepared for the cold. I think we could have, if we would have had access to a snowmobile and an auger, like we would have been prepared to actually sit out on the ice and do some fishing in
Mm.
the elements. So
Oh,
it's
that's
the next
cool.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great experience.
It was special. It was a lot of fun, and my son just kept saying just how much fun it was, and talking about different. He's like, "Oh, this will be a good memory," or something else would happen, and it was just neat. That's
Yeah.
honestly nothing else really mattered. It was just really, really fun to have that time with him.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Nice.
Yeah. But
All
we did
right.
work out a
Well, maybe.
story. We were on the flight back, and he said, "Okay, Dad. So if anybody asks, we got one pike, three walleye, 10 perch. Got it? Got it."
Got it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
too
Well,
bad
at
my
least.
wife told one of his buddies, she was giving a buddy a ride from soccer practice while we were gone. And he's like, how's it going? And she's like,
Marie spilled beans, so.
nothing. She's like, they got nothing. So, so much for that fishtail.
Yeah. All righty, sir. Well, what do we got in the mug? What's going on today?
Cool. Today we've got coffee from Chicago. This was a lot of fun. A number of years ago, I got connected with two guys, Dave Dyson and Matt Dixon, both based out of Chicago. They work for a business called Eclipse Telecom. Just ahead of Valentine's Day, a package arrives at my house, and it's got some coffee and tea and some popcorn in it, and it was a Valentine from Eclipse.
Oh,
This was awesome. Roses are red, pine trees are green. Poetry on a deadline is stressful, if you know what I mean. As I wait for inspiration, unsure of where to start, I feel something hit me right in the heart. My writer's block is gone. Now where did it go? It's been replaced by a bullseye from Cupid's arrow. I well up with joy for the people I love, the clients, partners, and teammates I can't get enough of. That means you. So share your coffee, tea, and treats with your family and friends, and know that Eclipse love for you is a love that never ends.
no, that's clever. That's nice.
I thought it was fun. I shot a text as a thank you, and they're like, "Now you're gonna review it on CX and Coffee, right?" So of course we. So Matt, Dave, without further ado, we've got our coffee for today. Is roasted at the Coffee Lab at North Central College in Naperville, Illinois. I love that a college has a coffee lab. It's making me question a lot of life choices right now, Marty.
Coffee Lab. That's a cool name.
It's really cool. You can learn more at northcentralcoffeelab.com. They sent me two coffees. I've got a Colombia and a Guatemala, Costa Rica. I feel like we've done a fair bit of Colombian coffees recently. So we went with the Guatemala, Costa Rica. Came to me ground, and that's what's in the mug for today.
Nice. Give it a sniffer. Give it a shake.
I feel like with ground coffee, right? You gotta get it to come to life a little bit. So it's a very mild smell.
Okay. No distinct notes.
I'm working on that, Marty. I'm working on it. Removing all the distractions from my. I'm just gonna turn your camera off there for a minute. Kidding.
That's all right. I'm gonna check my email.
This one's pretty sweet. My initial take on this is
Hint of coffee.
well, it's we. This is what's interesting about this, Marty. My recall on some of these is really bad because I smell something. It's like I know exactly what this is,
Right.
and then I want to do this because I feel like it's really low in the bag, and I'm having a harder time. I'm gonna say it, and maybe it'll explain why I'm a little perplexed by this one. I get buttered toast.
Okay. Like slightly burnt toast, like a little bit of that brown kind of, or just
I mean,
buttered toast?
it doesn't smell burnt at all, but it's like, you know what, you come over the toaster when things are starting to get
Yeah.
that like golden deliciousness.
Okay. That's a good descriptor.
I wouldn't say just like baked bread, right? You've got something there. So I'm going with buttered toast for the Guatemala, Costa Rica from North Central Coffee Lab in Naperville, Illinois. If you're watching this and you're like, bro, that is not, to each their own. And to me, buttered toast.
Of course.
I feel like last time we did some cheersing, and now I gotta do some cheersing again. So I'm gonna cheers Dave and Matt. This one's for you guys. I still get that.
Interesting. And is it mild? Is the mouth feel like is it still mild?
It's
Like
it's
flavor?
medium to a little bit darker. This is
Okay.
not it's not as like this is. It's definitely got more substance to it. And that's fascinating. Yeah, I absolutely buttered toast. It actually reminds me. This is really so. When I was a kid, and sometimes when I was sick, my mom would make tea and would butter saltine crackers,
Oh boy.
and I would love dipping the buttered saltine cracker into the tea.
Like black tea? Like regular straight up Lipton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is bringing back memories of that. It doesn't don't hear me out. It doesn't taste like tea, but there was something that when you have just like the mushy buttery cracker with the tea profile on it. Some of you are watching this right now and I've completely turned you off to this coffee.
Yeah.
That is not my intention. This is unlocking a core memory for me that is, if you were a chicken noodle soup thing, then this is me equating that to that. Like, this is
My mom used to stir the bubbles out of ginger ale, and that's what I don't know. I don't know. I think it was the idea that ginger was good for you, but that was
Did
that
you-
was our thing.
Was it ever a thing? Did your parents ever go to the pharmacy to get the Coke syrup?
Never.
That was another one when we were sick, but you had to get it from the pharmacy, and it was Coca-Cola. It was the syrup
Huh. Okay.
that you would get it. I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore.
Can't be legal.
Like, you're sick, you know what? The syrup that we use, that we carbonate it with water, that will cure. that will
Yeah,
cure.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's
Strep
back. It's
throat,
kind of going
fine.
back to the old like Guinness is good for you, Coca-Cola with all. You know what I mean? I think there was like health. They thought a lot of that stuff, or at least pretended like there was health benefits. So
Guinness has protein in it. I remember, Marty, have you ever gone to the Yingling Brewery and done the tour there?
no, I've been to Pottsville, Pottstown,
Yeah,
one,
Pottsville.
Pottsville. Yeah.
Yeah, so Yingling Brewery, America's oldest brewery. The tour's actually, it's a lot of fun. It's free. They take you down to the cellars where the original spring was and everything. But one of the things that's interesting is they were able to make beer during Prohibition, but they had to be the stouts and porters because they were for nursing mothers. They would have them drink the stouts and porters.
I'm sure. I'm sure none of it went to any men at that point.
No, and what they said, it was interesting though, because the day that prohibition lifted, they were able to start shipping cases,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So crazy how that they grew it that fast.
That worked out. Yeah.
Man, history is funny. Uh, but back to North Central Coffee Lab. I really this is good. It's certainly, especially the more I drink it, it's a bit heavier than a lot of the coffees that we have. It seems we've been down the path of a lot of medium to light roasts. This is not this. If you like a darker roast coffee, I do think you would be a fan. Again, this is the Guatemala Costa Rica. Crazy the butter bread. There's something else in there. Obviously, there's something else in there that's giving it just like a darker, heavier profile.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting this carried through. Overall, do recommend. I want to learn more. I did not. I was a bad host, and I did not do my homework on North Central Coffee Lab ahead of today. But of course, as always, we link in the show notes. You don't have to worry. We're going to provide the URL along with this episode. Again, we did the Guatemala, Costa Rica. All right, I see you. I see you. Matt, Dave, thank you. Thank you for sending the coffee. So glad that we could give it a taste. I'm excited to... I don't even know that I'm going to take this home, Marty. Usually these bags, I try them. I take them home and I share them with Marie. This is pre-ground. It's so convenient. This one's staying in the office with me.
Office coffee.
Office coffee. I love it. I never get mad. I'm we've had one or two duds, Marty, but for the most part, I'm going to continue to say I can't recommend to someone enough. If you enjoy drinking coffee, just start a YouTube show about it, and it gives you all the excuse you need to drink delicious coffee every single week.
Yeah. You can't stop.
I'm almost done. It's also at the perfect temperature. It's
Right.
the stars aligned, and maybe I just needed it, Marty. I just needed this for my soul. I'm still defrosting from my time in Minnesota, so this is it. Done.
How was the travel to Minnesota? Was it pretty easy back and forth?
The flights were great. It was a white knuckle drive. So I am really, really thankful. I was like, oh, we're going to Minnesota in February. There's a chance of snow. I don't know what the whole situation is once we get up there. I'm going to rent a truck. We ended up getting put in a Dodge Ram 2500, a beast, which I'm really thankful for. We ended up driving through a snowstorm the entire way. So it was supposed to be 2 hours. It ended up being about 3.5 hours. I think there was somewhere between 3 and 5 inches of snow, either on the ground or kind of actively falling. A ton of accidents, a ton of like crawling, but made it there safely. Yeah, it was all around, man. It was just a good time. It was a good time.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Making memories.
Making memories.
So what are we talking about this week?
Ah, I usually try to take us down a path of good, helpful things, Marty, and hopefully I do that today. But I'm gonna do it by venting on behalf of my wife. So she, as I'm sure, like many of you, got hit with the flu pretty hard this year, and she had been sick, was getting better, and then got even worse, and wanted to like quickly get checked out for some of the issues that she was having. So she went to not a normal healthcare provider, but one of the urgent care type of things, right?
Yep.
It's like want to go get seen. She had a bad experience. The doctor was super disinterested, didn't spend really any time asking questions. In her words, he spent like 30 seconds listening to her back, and that was it. Like, didn't prescribe anything, didn't do it. Like, she felt pretty disinterested. Like, he was pretty disinterested in
Right.
helping. So they had sent a survey after the stay, and it was the Net Promoter Score. And it was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend? She rated them a 2. A couple days later, she gets a call from a woman with the facility. A very, like, hey, wanted to call to see how you're feeling, what's going on. They
Yeah.
talked a little bit about that. Also, want to learn more about the rating. So my wife shared her experience and what was going on, and the woman's like, you actually don't recognize the name of the provider that you saw. I think it's someone who was here, on a rotation. How can I help? That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
A day later, my wife gets another call from the provider. And so this is the person that my wife rated a 2, picks up the phone and gives her a call. The text I got from her, now this is while we were away, that blank doc called me back, and that dude definitely has some, I'm going to put it in an expletive. I will definitely be opting for somewhere else. He wasn't happy about the rating because corporate's upset with him and making him do something. He asked me what he could do better. I said, listen to me and actually check what's wrong. He said, not that I'm saying you're wrong, but sometimes while I'm talking, I do all of those things without the patient really thinking about it. And
Seems like he's got it figured out then.
very off-putting to my wife. And here, the woman who reached out to her to say, hey, we saw your survey. We hear you. How can we help? That was sufficient. Having the doctor that she saw call back and essentially complain that now he was, being put through whatever it was, training or whatever, and not that I'm saying you're wrong, took my wife from she would have gone back after they're addressing the 2 to now she is willing to be an active detractor of this. Like, she is now a 2 manifested into life because of what they did and then they undid.
Right.
And what this really had me wrestling with as we were thinking about the recording today is, what is the right thing to do with customer feedback? Whether it's a Net Promoter Score, a customer satisfaction, a voice of the customer program, our organizations, one way or another, collect all sorts of feedback on our customers. And then we've got to figure out, can we, should we, what do we do with all of this information? I want to talk a little bit about that. But Marty, I'm questioning, like, do you think it's okay? Like, should organizations be able to, I don't know how else to put this, confront their accuser when it comes to bad feedback?
I mean, that seems insane. And I would say the first approach, listening, what could we do better? Oh, I'm sorry you had that experience. You know what I mean? We'll try to give some kind of like comforting thought that will actually take this up the ladder, that kind of thing. That's more than appropriate. And again, I've I've appreciated, even when I've had good experiences, like, hey, just wanted to check in. If you want to, thanks for your time. Blah 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 blah. I mean, I think that's great. I don't even know how I would react if all of a sudden I had somebody. I mean, I've heard that about like people getting bad reviews and then somehow that getting back to the anonymous review, getting back to the person and being called out on it. I mean, that's just next level. So, my vote would be no. I would say that's probably not appropriate, Justin. I mean, I'm
Could
not a
you?
professional.
Could you? So could you imagine every like we've all probably had a bad uh, whether it's retail or it could have been with a contact center or a hotel. Like we've all had a bad experience. Could you imagine if every organization was like, "Oh, you didn't like that agent? You know what? We're gonna have them call you. So
Well,
as part of the rectification of this situation, you and them can hash it out."
hey, do you remember me, Gary, from the call the other day? Yeah. Yeah, well, and again, it would be even different. Yeah, I don't even think the doctor should have gotten her number to give her a call back. But maybe I don't know. Maybe they just have a different system. But it even would have been different to like, hey, sorry. Maybe there's like I was having a bad day, or that's good feedback. Thank you so much. Keep it short and sweet. Again, Marie would have been like, oh, okay, maybe give it another chance. But to say, I'm not saying that you're incorrect. You are. But I was doing all this stuff and you just didn't pay attention. You just didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? It was like, it's pretty easy. And I've had interactions with doctors and other things. And when people come in and look you in the eye, make you feel listened to, and it doesn't need to be 20 minutes, but I mean, that's basic human, you know, nature of just talking and looking at them and like, oh, okay, great. Okay. All right. Let's see what we can do here.
Yeah.
So that person obviously is missing it and then missed it again. You know what I mean? I don't know how they're going to get back on track with that.
Well, I was thinking of calling them back and asking them if they wanted some. It's like, hey, I can help you. I know
Yeah.
people. I know people who can help you. It's like you understand that it wasn't a matter of you not listening. It was the patient feeling like you weren't listening. There is a difference between you listening and them feeling like you were listening. I'm just gonna say this. I think that's an awful practice. The out like closing the loop on the feedback was very smart, and that is something that we should absolutely do as organizations. If we don't enable our customers, our patients, our constituents, our employees, if we don't have a process to close the loop on what we're doing with feedback, what we can't, in the case if we can't take action on it, why we can't take action on it, right? The more visibility and transparency we provide around what we do, don't do, why we do, don't do things with survey feedback, really, really important. And like I said, my wife after that conversation, she was blown away. She actually didn't expect them to reach out to her about the survey. What I think is really important to recognize here is like that was with a doctor, and I bet it has nothing to do with the level of that employee, that everything to do with that person. And you may have people that are making minimum wage inside of your organization that would treat that information respectfully and tactfully, but you also might have executives in your organization who would absolutely get defensive and jump on things, which is what happened in this case. So, for me, this has everything about the individual more than it does anything else. But I think in general, not a good practice to have someone who's received bad feedback in this type of situation to be able to, again, I'm going to call it confront their accuser, because it does more harm than I think it does good. Again, what was valuable is that they closed the loop. The challenge for us as organizations, like if I look at where do organizations struggle, it's taking action on it. And I want to be really, really clear here that taking action on it, the first step might just be closing the loop and saying, hey, we understand you had this bad experience. We want you to know that is seen. It's not acceptable, right? Here's what we think, believe, do. Whether or not you then take it back in action, like that's the next step. And of course, we as organizations need to have a way to prioritize to say, hey, how common is this? What's the impact to our organization if we do something about it? But so valuable. Again, to at least just close the loop. I'm Marty, like I'm still just like reeling around this idea of collecting feedback and then making our customers feel bad about giving it, because that's a
Right.
really good way to get customers to stop giving feedback. It's also, again, now they're gonna probably get even more upset about what happened here. So as I think about this topic and this thing today, should we be asking our customers for feedback? 100%. Should we be closing the loop with them on that we received it, that we hear it, that we're taking action? 100%. Should we ever make them feel bad for giving that feedback? No. Even if it's bad feedback, I think
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous practice to have in place. But I'm curious to hear from people, like, what would you do in that situation if you had a customer give you constructive feedback on an individual, which we all have? Would you empower that individual to reach out to the customer patient? Why or why not? And clearly, I mean, this organization chose to do that. So I know there's people, and I will respect your opinion, but I'm going to strongly disagree with it as a practice.
That feels like that's going to fail most times.
So what do we do as an alternative? Why do you think they made that doctor call?
Why do I think they made the doctor call?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, that person might have this. This might not be the only incident. You know what I mean? There might be this kind of like trail. I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to smooth it over and then just hope that most people are busy and they're just, oh, that was a better, leave them out with a good taste in their mouth and they just kind of go on, as opposed to like, hey, let's have this person who's been in trouble or had a really bad experience. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I can't answer that one.
Yeah, I honestly can't either. I've been thinking about it for like what's the benefit to the individual, right? If I'm that doctor or I'm that service representative or whoever that person is, best case scenario, I handle it with tact. That person is very respectful and polite. I appreciate you contacting me, Marty. I understand how things can be. That's expecting a lot of like rational level-headedness on both sides. And again, I've spent too much time knowing and working with people to believe that when you had something bad that you rated a 2, somebody's gonna be hurt about that.
Right.
For me is just like think about the unintended consequences of this. Second thing I potentially thought about is, as part of their policy or practice is, an idea of making amends. Again, I think organizations should take a step back and recognize, hey, that office manager, whoever it was that did the outreach, they were actually able to do that on their behalf. And sometimes it's better to have a neutral party involved when it's something like that. But episode 15, Marty, honestly, man, the place where I'm at right now is just like, don't do it. Like, please be open to feedback. Please close the loop with your customers. Actually take action on it. Don't empower the people that got the negative feedback to reach out to the customer. I just don't see it working out for most of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, I think from a customer standpoint, the closing the loop is huge, right? Because each time that you take the time to fill out something and it just disappears into the ether and there's not even like an auto reply, like you just like, why bother, right? Each time that's, so if you're one, you have to be really interested to like and okay to hear bad feedback, right? And if you are collecting it, then make sure you're doing something with it, as opposed to, oh, we probably should be, and it just goes to some database somewhere that like, oh, we'll eventually get around. I mean, that's just not helpful for anybody.
No.
Hmm.
While you contemplate those things, I suggest you go to northcentralcoffeelab.com, Guatemala, Costa Rica. Really tasty coffee. And let me know if I'm totally just off my rocker with that description of the flavor, but I'm sticking to it. Buttered toast. Marty, when we get back, I hope that you've got a nice tan in there, that you've just got this essence of relaxation and just connectedness. I'm excited for you to have that trip. I hope you have an amazing time. I will still probably be thawing out by that point, and so maybe if nothing else, you can just tell us all stories of the beautiful Dominican.
I'll try to. I plan on just going into like this Zen mode where I'm not thinking about anything, but I'll try to capture some pictures and just maybe make some notes that I can share with the people.
We love it. We love it. And if you try some coffee while you're down there, we definitely want to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Everyone, this has been CX and Coffee. My name is Justin Robbins. I do this with my good friend
Marty Shaughnessy.
We will catch you next time for a whole new brew.